Hi, welcome back. This is part 2. I don't know how many parts this video is going to be. It's going to be maybe 5. I don't know. But what we're doing today, we're coming back to painting. First, before we start this, I'm going to do a list of things you're going to probably need to paint with. I say probably because I can't tell you how to paint. It's your unit, it's your hobby. You paint how you want to paint, and you paint with what you want to paint. It's entirely up to yourself. There is no right way, there is no wrong way. You paint what you want to paint. That's right, yeah. I, on my last video, clearly, what was it somebody said to me? Rode the mythical algorithm. Guys, thank you very much for all of the views and likes and subscribers. I can't say how much I appreciate you. I really did not expect that, so thank you. I'm glad to know you're all nerds like me. So I'm going to go through the list of things you're probably going to need, okay? We'll do that first. After that, we will have a look at what we're doing today. That's the plan. Cool. Okay, right, so first things first, you are going to need paintbrushes. I've got some here. You're going to need paper towel to wipe said paintbrushes on. I'm just checking these to make sure I'm happy with them. I used them the other day, so they should be fine. Beyond that, you will require a vessel for dirty water. You can't have this vessel for dirty water. This is my vessel for dirty water. You will be changing it often, so you will also require some clean water. Do not mix up clean water and dirty water. I have done it once, and dear God, it lines your mouth. For lack of a better word, you know that slime you see? I imagine that's what it feels like drinking that. You will then require a larger vessel or receptacle for bigger, dirtier water. This one I've been collecting for some time. This sits in my corner and gathers dust. Yeah. After that, you're going to need paint of your color scheme. So, these are what I'm using. Now, the eagle-eyed among you will notice that I've got different ball shapes and different brands. So these are all the paints I'm going to be using today. Do you need this many paints? I hear you screaming down the YouTube at me. No, you don't. You need as many paints as your color scheme needs. I'm going to show 2 stages of a model, or my 2 stages of a model, if you will. I'm going to show you the battle ready, so when you could comfortably take it to a tabletop, or when I would comfortably take it to a tabletop, which I still haven't done to this day. I've never played a game. And then I'm going to show you what the bigger version of it might look like. I realized in my last video I showed that I didn't even show anything that I painted. So this is something I painted recently. Not recently. Well, yeah, it was recently. I rooted him out. He's a Auric boss, and I liked him, and I wanted to paint him pink because I was using army painter. So I bought some of that. Something a bit more traditional and less pink. That's the sort of thing I like to paint. That makes me happy. Here, I'll put him there because I just realized I don't have a zoom on this camera, so yeah, that's why I like to paint. Big fan of him. Worth noting, army painter, because inevitably it'll come up. Army painter versus citadel. We'll pick a color. There's mixed schools of thought. There's mixed opinions. I'm going to be honest. It's either that I'm really new or I can't tell the difference. What I will say, I adore the way that the paint comes out of these balls. It's one drop done. There's very little hassle in regards to that. The mix is sometimes a bit weird. Sometimes they're thick, sometimes they're a bit thinner, sometimes, and it's the sometimes, isn't it? Citadel, buy out of any game shop, anywhere you can buy Warhammer, you will find Citadel paints. These are generally always the same consistency, they generally always behave the same way, and generally the colours are always ready to be. Now, beyond that, a couple of things worth noting. I'm colourblind as all hell. That colour and that colour look almost identical to me. I have to have the labels on to tell me what colour they are, because I can't tell. So, if you're ever watching me paint and you go, hey John, that's not the right colour, that's why. Okay. There'll be various bits during the thing today where I'm going to just paint a bit and then show you a bit. The first step we're doing is up to battle ready, or my version of battle ready. This is what I would say for myself is battle ready. That's good enough to take to a tabletop. It's clean, it looks nice, it's got the bits that need to be done on it. So that's where I'm at for battle ready. After battle ready, we've then got someone a little bit more up there. He's got highlights, he's got a bit more detail in him, he's actually got his markings on him. I hate these things, by the way. I hope it's not just me, but I despise these things. But yeah, that's kind of a little bit more heavy metal style, if you will. But that's generally where I stop. That's enough for me, and that takes me around about 3 to 4 hours, depending on how well I concentrate. So, yeah, we'll go from here, see where we end up, and hopefully you guys follow along, and we end up with a nice little painted miniature out of it. I will show you the color scheme that I'm using now. That's for battle ready color. I will then show you when time comes to move on from battle ready. I will then show you where I'm at for color scheme there. There's the only real difference is highlights and midtones, and I say midtones. Basically, I'm just making it look prettier. It looks busier, for lack of a better word. Okay, so let's go. Just after saying let's go, I just remembered something. This might be your first ever painting video, and I forgot that. So what I will say, you will need a palette. You will also require a paint palette of some form. A shape, smell, or form. I've got one kicking. Haha, perfect. This is what I'm currently using for my paint palette. I'm just using a Citadel one. That's the white, the Citadel color palette. There are hundreds of options out there. You don't even have to use something like this. You can, if you wanted, you can use a bit of plastic. A palette can be whatever you need a palette to be. You don't have to go out and buy something like this for it. It's just something that I bought when I was learning the hobby. It's done me well. There are advantages and disadvantages to every palette. This one in particular, the paint dries out quite quick. You don't get you don't get the most amount of working time with your paint, because it's just the nature of it. A wet palette would solve that problem. I built one at one point before. I should really rebuild another one, because I was painting a lot more at one point. So I should really rebuild one. Paint, thinning paint. Got on my crack blue here, because I'm going to wash him, just with some blue. My 3D printer's about to go off. Start off. Thank you. Start off by shaking your paint. You need to mix this well. Using the lid part on the Citadel one, I'm going to take just a good bit like that, and I'm going to take it to the paper, to the palette, and just pop it somewhere near there. Back in here. Back in here. Back in here, in our fresh water. I don't have kids. I imagine this is what it'd be like having kids. Bit of water in there. I'm going to take a little bit of paint off the side and start watering it down. We want it thick enough to cover, but not so thick that it's still just straight paint. That's probably about right, to be honest. So, taking our model, I'm only going blue here. I'm not doing anything special. I'm just taking a blue and I'm just going to start brushing it on. So almost what you're doing here, you're trying to get it on the flat bits, and then I'm going to effectively use my brush as a sponge, if you will. So I'm getting it on and then taking it off and just moving that around as we go. Because at this point, all I'm trying to do is ensure that I've adequately covered everything in blue, and I've already got paint on my fingers. Always manage to get paint on my fingers when I'm doing washes. Right, we're going to paint. Up top, you've got a time-lapse camera. Hello. We've got a time-lapse camera up there. I don't know how well that's going to do. I'll try and use some of it. This might be like, I watched, I forget the painter's name. Used to work for Citadel, seems like a good dude. Taught me lots of things. I'll put his name here. Right along there. I forget his name. Excuse the sounds of death in the background, by the way. I've got a 3D print going, and for some reason the plastic is just not moving right today. I don't know why. Oh, it's rubbing against something because it's a full roll. Oh, that's fine. Anyway, moving on. We'll get this battle ready. I'm going to start. The first thing I'm going to do, I've given him a wash. I'm going to start going over things. I think I'm going to start with leathers. I'm going to disassemble what I can to paint this, because disassembly, if you can, makes life so much easier. I'm going to move the camera ever so slightly further forward as well and see how we get on. Look at that on a fancy slide reel and everything. Check you out. It's not, it's a desk, it's a slidey desk. So we'll be painting on this, and I'm going back to my YouTube. Enjoy. It's worth noting that as I'm painting, I'm going real slow. So I'm just putting Rhinox hide here. Rhinox hide? Rhinox hide. Brown. I'm putting brown on it. Take your time, go slow, okay? You'll notice that as you paint, some of it has got just like a natural line where things are supposed to sit. So that if you look here, you can clearly see where that armor part ends and that leather pouch begins, which makes that a real dream to paint. After this, I'm going to start going over some of the black parts of the model, like these bits right here, with a bit of Abaddon black. If you go over the lines or you paint where you're not supposed to paint, don't worry about it. Just go back over it. It's fine. It's your model. And again, stop when you're done. I like to sit and try and paint in one hit if I can, but you might find that doesn't work for you. You might find that you like to come back to an hour later or 20 minutes later, or just start something and leave it for a couple of days. God knows, I think we're all guilty of that from time to time. But yeah, that's where we're up to so far. I'm about to go over it in black now and see where we go on that. Right, okay, so I've touched up some of the back legs with black. Now, what I will say, so if I bring that close, is that going to focus in? I don't know, we'll find out when we put a big screen. This whole film might just be ruined because this doesn't focus up right. We'll find out at the end. I've gone over little bits like this in black, little bits like that in black, just there, little bits of that black, and a little bit under his groin. Now I'm going to start touching up on the gun because it's a major part of the model. So big gun, I'm going to be doing Rune Lord brass. I'm going to colour the seal, and then I'm going to paint the stock of the stock in the back of the gun black, and mind up full of his fingers on this one. The canister, I fancy Rune Lord brass. So I like to create stories for these guys. Do you remember the one I showed you earlier? This one. So this one I showed, this one I showed earlier on, okay? The story behind him and why he's got this like weird browny coloured base. I got him out of the Elite Starter set for Warhammer 40k, and it was Space Marines versus Necrons. Now the map that came with that, like the terrain map, the table map, was like an orangey, off browny, horrible colour. So I created this horrible browny colour. Now, beyond that, I like to try and tell a story with my dudes as I go. Give them a little bit more insight to them. So my guy that I'm currently painting now, this one, I'm going to make his flamer tank Rune Lord brass, and the parts of his gun Rune Lord brass, because in this case it's Tyranids, but in my head I'm pretending that they have they've just conquered the Tyranids, or they've just been to war. Sorry, they've just conquered the Necrons. They've just been at war with the Necrons. They finished that war, that campaign is now over. What do you do for war? War is for resources. It's for fuel, food, land, whatever resource it is you need. And I just think it makes it more interesting to like tell a bit of a story. So these guys, they will have Rune Lord brass on their guns because that's what they would have gotten out the dead bodies of the Necron. Because what are they made of? That's right, Rune Lord brass. So we're going to do that. Also, I never painted the Necrons. I don't like Necrons. That's another reason I'm painting that Rune Lord brass. Death to Necrons. Okay, so his gun is now at a point where I'm happy with it. I'm doing some fine details in the Liberator Gold now. He is going to be showing you the scheme already. I've got a load of gold bits did over his shoulders, gold on his chest, I've done some gold on the gun. I want to highlight little bits of his armor in gold as well. Just small little things, and it'll make me happy. You do not have to do this. As a matter of fact, I'm going overkill for battle ready. At this point, you'd probably, if you were going battle ready, you'd probably paint his chest, paint his eyes, and then stop. Right, this is a bit battle ready now. I'm happy with that. I would take that to a tabletop. He needs his signs putting on him, his little arm bits, and that's it. I'm happy with him. He's good, he looks good. It's taken me a couple hours. and that would be that. That was where, well, that's where I would stop. However, I don't play the game, so I'm about to go over this with a bit more detail. I will keep you up to date as we go, because I really want to improve on that. This is where we're looking at highlights and all that good stuff and giving it that bit more of a thick look to it. Okay, so next footage will be of the next steps. Also worth noting before I say about next steps, if you've got anything that you're not quite happy with, and as in you've overspilled paint anywhere, now's your time to fix it. I don't know if it'll catch on camera, but there's a bit right here, just there, pop, 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 right there, that I'm not too happy with. So I'm going to touch that up with a little bit of blue. And worth noting, whenever you use metallics, change your water. I've found that if you don't, you end up with shiny paint when you don't want shiny paint. So yeah. So worth noting for any of you who are following me on this step, as in trying the highlights, what I've done, I've taken my, I forget the name of it, Calgar Blue, and effectively I've used the light from my window to base my highlights on. So all I've done so far, I've taken my Calgar Blue, put some Calgar Blue on the high points of it, so the bits that are very clearly well lit, and same with there, and same with there, and same with there, and same with there, and same with all up here. Now I'm going over with some Finresian Grey, and this point it is just touching. It is just touching. So just in that corner piece there, I'm going to take the tiniest bit of paint and just run over the top of it like that. I'm going to stop there. That's perfect. Oh, just wait a minute. I missed a little bit at the end. Just there, and that's perfect. That's good enough for me. I don't want straight lines. You'll notice just under the knee, it's not completely straight. That's fine. Light isn't completely straight, not unless you're under a strip light setup, which I very much doubt these guys are. So I'm just taking my Finresian Grey and just over the top, just gently, I'm putting pressure on my finger as I do this. Gently run over the top and add a little highlight like that. Take your time with this step, because this is the final bit of highlighting that I'm going to be doing. I'm not going to mess around beyond this. I'm more than happy. It's at a level where I'm happy to be done with it. In all honesty, all joking aside, you probably will find somebody else who's doing a tutorial and they will teach it much better than I am. And I encourage you to do so. I do encourage you to do so. This is how I do it. And this is how you might want to do as well. I found this is easy enough for me. And I think it just makes it pop that little bit more. After this, I'm going to go over my leather with some Steel Legion Drab, because I want some variation in the leather. It'll probably be dry brush or a very light coat, and then I'm on the Liberator Gold just to top up on top of those gold boys. It just pops, man. It just gives that little bit extra life to it. Right, go over now. Bye. Okay. Right, I am now at the end pretty much. I'm about to do his eyes, which always puts the fear into me. Always get the fear for this bit because I always screw up. So right there, I've gone right under the eye, which isn't what I was meant to do. But that's fine, because in a minute, once it dries, I'll touch up with blue again. Is it perfect? No. Am I happy with it? Yeah. You know what? It's good. I like it. It's good enough, and I think that is what this hobby should be about. Once you're happy with it, stop. Once you're done, stop. Happy with your dude? Lovely. Stop. I gotta do his base yet. I think I'm gonna make a luxurious, grassy, stony base for him, so I'm probably gonna do that off camera, maybe. I don't know. But I've got a load of little green grassy, but oh dear, just dropped my brush and paint. I've got a load of, this is Citadel again. I have a load of these that I can use. You can use flock. There are so many things you can use. I quite like these because they fill out the base quite nicely, so we'll do that in a minute. Yeah, I think grass and little green and stuff like that, I need to change the size bases on as well. But this is nearly done. I will show in a minute the finished steps of him. Right. For a minute, assuming this is your first time painting, transfers. These things are heinous. I hate them. They are the worst things ever. I mean, these are wonderful little things that allow you to to easily transfer a design onto your finished unit. I'm looking for a pair of tweezers that I can't seem to find, but this is very helpful, isn't it? Alright, we're raw dogging it. So, first things first, if you're raw dogging it, you want to wet your finger, and you're going to want to wet the transfer. Transfer, wet. Take a brush. Now, wet the part of the model you intend to put it on. That's going to go on that side, so that'll just get a little bit wet on it, and then I will then wet the transfer. I love these things. So we're aiming to saturate the paper so that the transfer comes loose. I'll put this closer, hopefully it zooms in. I don't know what zoom is like on this camera. In fact, focus, I don't know what focus is like on this camera. If you get it saturated enough, you'll notice that eventually you'll be able to push the transfer around. Probably put a bit too much water on there. There we go, that's better. Fabulous. More water required, and keep going. There we go. So that's now saturated, so we can push that. So at this point, being very delicate and gentle, you're going to take your symbol and just push it onto the wet bit you just wet. A bit of patience, a bit of perseverance, and you'll get this, okay? It takes a bit of practice. Try not to leave your rubbish around your room. I've got a bad habit of doing that. Now at this point, I'm going to use the very base of my brush to help push this into the place where I'd like it to stay. I am happy with that there. That will do. I watched the tutorial. I watched a tutorial on this once, and this is how the tutorial told me to do it, and I've stuck with this way ever since. I've never had any real issues with it, apart from them staying on for the long term. That's the only problem I have with it. You could, by all means, hand paint these, should you so desire, and should you feel so talented. And if you do hand paint it, please tell me how you did it, because dear God, this is a nuisance. I mean, a delightful time. This is a delightful time. Now, once the water has dried out, okay, he's ready to go. Nuln oil time. The transfers are on, they're fine. That one went on sideways, but that's okay. Happy little accident. Nuln oil. So what you do is you shake this, because just shortly you're going to be using this with the reckless abandon of somebody in a higher tax bracket than you. That's why I have a big tub. So you really need to shake this, and I mean really be vigorous with it. The sediment sits at the bottom, I found, so if you shake it up well enough, the sediment separates. You get yourself a piece of this. Same book, by the way, sorry, same material, just a different page. Oh yeah, he was cool. I was painting some marines, and I made a face by accident, so I called him Blorp. Yeah. What is wrong with me? It's a person, why? So you're going to take that Nuln oil you've just set out there, and then you're going to water it down, because that is too much. It will settle on way too thick. So this is going to add dirt to your figure. This is going to make it look like it's been through hell. As you put this on, just consider where dirt would naturally sit. The same as I've done in my highlights. I've obviously used the light behind in front of me to assess that. But in this case, I tend to go for in the joints and stuff like that. So like obviously his hands are going to be covered in it. And we're just trying to add it. You'll see a lot of people just kind of coat the whole figure with it, and I don't like that look. I've never been a fan of it. I think there would be dirt in certain places, but not all of it. Right in his butt crevice there'll be lots. Probably in his knees down there. Down on the leg. I'll leave the back exposed, because the back, realistically speaking, there's not going to be much of a working part beyond the back of the knee, is there? So don't overload it, because if you overload it, you'll end up with just a mess of stuff, which isn't good. I think we've just lost a transfer. Yeah, we've lost a transfer. You know what? That's fine. I don't want that on there anyway. Go away. Get away, transfer. He's only having one transfer. I'm going to put some in his neckline. Really dirty up there. And right along the top of that gun. In the armpits, up in his oxters, he needs it. And finally in the back of this leg. Cool. Cool and cool. I will come back on once he's dried out a bit and you'll get to see how he's come out. I do find the Nuln Oil really helps bring out the gold, by the way, and the highlights, so give me a minute and I'll be right back. Okay, so he's finished now. Honestly, been here for about 3.5 to 4 hours. Sun's getting real low, which means that it's coming to the end of the day. So I hope it did alright showing you guys how I paint this. Hopefully it's something you come back to see again in future. Comments, feedback, let me know, because I've never had to film Warhammer painting before. So I've done it on stream but never had to like film it as a structured process. Next thing I'm painting is going to be one of these big bad boys. If you'll fit into a thing. Oh, barely. Go on. Yes, full send. So there you go. That is what we are painting next time. I'm going to try and find some reference images because I've never painted one of these. So that is going to be interesting to say the least. I tried filming this on a GoPro today, by the way. We will see how the footage comes out. This might end up never being filmed on a GoPro again. But only time will tell. So yeah, next time, one of these. Thank you for watching, and also again thanks to all these subscribers and comments from last time. I've got a lot of things I want to try, and it's appreciated. Okay, bye.